This is the Median Mind with your host K.W.H. Dare to see the gray. This is episode 12, The Pole Shift. So yeah, I hope everybody had a good holiday. I know I did. I was doing a fast for about a week, and I stopped, drinking wine and cutting down on cannabis here in the legal state here. So it was definitely worth it. And so Christmas Eve for the last couple of days we've been party animals. So yeah, I hope everybody else had a good rest too. So well needed, especially after all that chinking this whole year. So I've been glad to get that done. So yeah, let's get into the current events. Yeah, so there's been a lot of stuff going on. Um, the Epstein files, there was a lot of them released recently. Only part of it, of course. I don't think they're ever going to release the whole thing. But yeah, but it looks like there's funny, and I'm sure everybody heard about this, but yeah, there's a guy that actually found a glitch in the Epstein files. So he was able to, if you copy and paste some of the text and paste it on I think a Word document, you can actually see what's blacked out in some of the pages where they didn't do the proper measures to block it. And there also vulnerability, something like searching with Trump if you add a space, it also give you some of the redacted text. So really damaging stuff in there that they tried to redact but didn't land up being able to do. So I thought that was funny. But again, yeah, I think like these Epstein files, I don't totally trust really much of anything that what's coming out because most of it's, I mean, it took them like 4 months to actually release it, so that's really suspicious, and so I find that really strange, and so I don't, I want to, I'm sure they'll leak little things, but you're definitely not going to see the whole picture. But they didn't count on the guy with the doing that, finding the glitch. So that does actually, so that's great. Yeah, so they went through it and it looks like there's a lot of damning evidence to Trump. I didn't look into it too much, but it looks like one of the documents, something about Trump raping somebody. So that was in there that they tried to black out. So hopefully we'll see. I don't think we're going to find out too much more. So yeah, the stupid thing is they were saying, if it was real damning evidence for Trump, why didn't the Democrats release it a long time ago and to damage him in the first term? But the easy answer is the Democrats are also on there, so they're both Republicans and Democrats are on there. So yeah, they try to so people try to screw around with you with that. So that's main reason. They're both scumbags, both perverts from both parties. Just Republicans are more sneaky about it usually. So yeah, but in conclusion, I wouldn't expect much more being released, anything real damning. And if anybody else has looked into the there's a lot, it goes a lot deeper than, Epstein. That's why I think a lot of us are kind of annoyed because, Epstein, we know Epstein wasn't the only one. There was other traffickers, but he would have led to, if they would have let us open it up more, it would have led to the darker stuff and more of the Pizzagate stuff. Because a lot of the Epstein stuff, although I did find a few pictures, I mean, they're blacked out, but you can tell he's holding a kid. So, and that's the stuff I'm really concerned with. I'm also concerned with, the under 18 too, but really with the kid stuff is where I find it really sick. And that gets really dark. So them killing kids and even even there's stores even babies. So it gets really dark and that's what you know. If they didn't block the Epstein investigation, then we probably would have led to the more sicker crimes, and I'm sure there'd be a lot of more people involved with that. So yeah, but I doubt we'll ever see that unless we get a new republic and we get real arrest. So that would have couldn't be in this current system. So we'll hope so. So yeah. So let's see what else is going on. Yeah, the vulnerability. Okay, copying that. Yeah, space with Trump. Okay. Yeah, and then here, yeah, and then I guess we'll just talk about it because it was like a distraction, so I didn't really talk about it too much. But yeah, this Charlie Kirk thing is, I mean, I never believed it in the first place, but this isn't probably too new, but I don't think a lot of people really talk about this. The biggest the biggest debunking of Charlie Kirk actually even getting a kill, because a lot of people say he still was assassinated, is when they shot him, when they were carrying him in the car, there's no blood trail. So there would be a lot of blood coming out your neck. It would be all over the place. So there's no blood trail, them carrying him. There's no blood on the clothes of the people carrying him. So that, that pretty much seals the deal for me that it's, complete bullshit. Of course, the neck thing, there's no puncture in the neck. Or there's no exit wound out of the neck, and like with that powerful gun, it would have done a lot of damage. It probably blew his head half off, or his neck would have been half mangled or something, or it just would have been a huge hole or something. So that's bullshit. So, and then of course the way Erica's acting, she's such a horrible actress. It's really easy to see she's acting, and the fake hand and everything. So yeah, I just wanted to tell everybody I totally do not believe the official story. I don't believe that guy. I don't think anybody shot him. I think he had one of those I forget what they're called, but it's some kind of blood bag thing that like actors use and things. So I think that's more what to me it looks like. But yeah, that's been up, and a lot of people have been going after Candace Owens for it. But I don't really I mean, she definitely went a lot farther than some of them. I think she goes farther than Owen Schroyer, because he's like he's definitely a half-asser. But I heard something. I didn't see the whole thing, but she went over. It seems like she did do an interview with Erica Kirk, and then she said something that she started believing half of it, and then I don't know, and then she's kind of disappeared for the last week. So I don't really know. Maybe she's just on Christmas vacation. So. But that's a little weird. But there's other things with Candace that I'm not going to get into in this show, but it does seem like she's controlled opposition too, in my opinion. So she will only go so far with it, but and there's some other stuff too. But yeah, that's that. And then let's see. Yeah, okay, so yeah, let's get to the main topic here, the pole shift. So yeah, this is something I've been, into for a long time. Just to review, I might have said this, but I've been a truth seeker for 20 years. So that would have been 2000 and I first got it was about 2005 when I was in high school. I was like in my junior year of high school. First actually I kind of went backwards in it. Usually people start with, Alex Jones and the basic stuff, but the first thing I think I actually saw was Michael Assarian's work. And then after that, it was David Icke. I got into that a lot. I saw a lot of that. Um, I don't, I don't like, agree with everything David Icke says, but yeah, I do. I do believe with a lot of the theories, the only thing I don't know is I do believe that there is definitely probably these reptilians, because every religion talks about these things. All around the world, they talk about the same thing. My thing is I don't know if I totally agree with that they control the whole human race, but they definitely have been part of molding it, I think, and I think it is something to be concerned with, but I'm not sure entirely if they rule if they're the ones that rule everybody, or they're just one of the species here. Because there's other theories. I don't know if people know, but I don't think anybody really does know. But there are theories that there's that actually we're invaders to the reptilians, and they were actually a natural race here, because they're closer to the sun. It's a hotter planet, and I think even Hitler actually talked about this too. He talked about how um, the Nazis, or the Caucasians, came from the Aryan race, actually originated from Mars. So, and in that and it actually kind of made sense. Like, I don't know for sure, but it's an interesting theory, because they said that the skin tone, our skin tone is like, a lot lighter. And since Mars is a lot, it's farther from the sun, we would have a lighter skin pigment. And usually Aryans are more, and they're better. They can survive better in colder climates and stuff. And Mars would be colder. So there's that kind of that theory. So there's another theory that we might have been in the invaders from Mars that came to this reptilian planet, and then, the dinosaurs where they involved, or probably the most likely would have been the raptor that was the most intelligent that might have started standing up straight. And then we came and invaded them. So, and then we tried to kill all the beast and everything like that. But, I'm not sure, but that's why I just don't know. The other thing I kind of like not sure. Well, I'd have to talk to David Icke. I'd actually like to have him on about this. I think I talked about it last episode. Was talk to him more what he means by the simulation theory. Does he think everything's fake, everything's a simulation, the soul, all that, or we're just like an overlay of simulation. We're real souls, and maybe we have more real flesh, but we're just kind of like Neo and that kind of scenario. So I'd like to talk to him about, because I don't know if I don't totally believe, if that's what he's saying. I don't believe that we're just all a simulation. It's a possibility, and again, we talked about that, how that would be a nightmare. But anyways, we won't go backwards on that. So, um, but anyway, so yeah, I've been into this for a long time, and to kind of it's a long story, but yeah. But anyways, like get to the so yeah, I was kind of into the pole shift thing, about the 2012 thing. Now my parents were actually into it too. We even actually, it wasn't just for that, but we moved up, and we used to live in California. We moved up to Palomar Mountain, which I could tell you a ton of weird stories, encounters, paranormal stuff we had up there. But actually near that Hale telescope up there, it was like right above the mountain. It was but anyways, yeah, we wanted to move because we were in kind of the city down in San Diego, the Oceanside thing, and we were sick of, suburb, not city, but we were just sick of that. We wanted to like get back up to the mountain. So we lived there and took care of horses and stuff. And another benefit was, we're like, well, if there's a pole shift, if there's that big wave that comes in, that, we'd be up high enough where it didn't get us. So we were really into that stuff. And then, it didn't, and of course, but we didn't actually think there was gonna be a disaster, right? On 2012, we kind of agreed that it was a start of a new age, that things would probably start to take place from there. And my dad said, nah, it would probably be later. He was like probably 2017, 19, he was wrong in that, but he was right that it was farther up. So anyways, so for a while, we kind of like didn't forget about it, but it just kind of didn't really think about it much. And then I think in like 2017, that I started hearing about that the poles were shifting so many degrees every year, or so many 5 years, something like that. And so I think it was like a mile or a couple of 40 miles or something. I'll have to double check that. But yeah, I mean, it was like so, and it is true. Every year it accelerates more and more, and they have to actually change the coordinates, the GPS coordinates for the airplanes and stuff. So there is actually real evidence of that. It's just we don't know if if you're following the 2012 thing. It has, the main thing was about one of the theories where there was a Planet X, from if you read Zachariah Sitchin, he talks about the 12th planet, the Planet X, and how it's some planet has like a 3,600 year orbit around our solar system. It comes in every 3,600 years about, and then sometimes it gets so close that it causes like magnetic disturbances or something, and supposedly that's what happened with that big disaster. And if you're listening to Michael Sarin's work and other people, they talk about a planet used to exist called a planet Tiamat, and supposedly then when it came around, it collided into that planet, and it actually it rained a lot of that. It was a big ocean planet, and a lot of that water went on Earth, and so it kind of seeded the Earth with more life or something. Anyways, that's the theory. And but anyway, so yeah, so every time it comes real close to Earth every 3,600 years, but nobody was really, because of the time change with the Gregorian calendar, and there was a lot of, with the Mayan one, people weren't exactly sure when it would happen. So yeah, so when that supposedly when that comes around again, they said it, they thought it was 2012, but it could be, so now people are saying like 2029, 2030. Some people said 2070. So I don't really know. I want to know. And then there was this three AI Atlas thing that was kind of strange. We weren't sure if maybe that had something to do with it. I don't think so, but there is something strange with that. They just talked about, they thought they've been saying they think they look it had like some kind of jet, there's some kind of engine or something on it. So just today I was looking. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's a distraction, and that could be for like Project Bluebeam kind of stuff. The kind of just that might be to get you to think there's going to be an alien invasion. I don't know about that. I don't think so, but that could be a card they play. So I would keep that in your mind. But yeah, like if anything's telling you to worship, but I would that would be probably be a red flag to probably do the opposite of what it says, because that's what they do, or they're telling you to do anything extreme in the name of this thing. I would be very cautious. So if it's that, but yeah, so now there's talk about it. A lot of people have been talking to me about it. There's a guy on my Facebook. He mentions it a lot, and so it seems like it is, the polls are accelerating. So it seems like something is getting closer. But we'll have to see. But um, another problem I see with people is that they seem to think this is a solution to all the problems going on too. And I used to think that too. I was actually, I know it probably kind of sounds psycho, but I was kind of actually kind of excited about it because I kind of was thinking, kind of cleanse the earth and all this bad, these evil people and all that, and and then we could reset, but the biggest problem a lot of people don't think about is the nuclear power plants. So, yeah, fortunately, the psychopaths have built thousands all over the planet, and the problem with that is if the electric is cut suddenly, and after a couple weeks, there's no backup generators, no gas to keep them on. These all these power plants will melt down. You'll have 1,000 Fukushimas going off at the same time. And yeah, that would be, so you're gonna have nuclear radiation all over the planet. It's like, almost like, basically like, almost like exploding atomic bombs all over the planet. So yeah, the pole shift, there's earthquakes, there's tsunamis like at Fukushima, and see, they'll all melt down. And that's the stupid reason about, this is why I can't stand nuclear energy in general. It's extremely dangerous. They don't have control of everything. They even admit it. They'll say about backup generators, but in Fukushima, that's what happened. They got destroyed, the backup generators too. So that's why it's still melted down. So these idiot control freaks think they have everything under control, but they really don't. And they don't think about this stuff. So they never should have been created. And I think what infuriates me even more is we've had, suppressed technology, clean energy for over 100 years or more that they have suppressed. Now they're talking about fusion again. They're bullshit now. They're saying, oh, it's a couple decades away. They already have it. We're almost positive that they probably had it in the 80s or even before that. And that is good. That's actual clean energy. That's not that you don't need radium, um, plutonium or any of that crap. Like, you don't need to burn it. I think you can burn just hydrogen out of that. So now it's completely clean. There's no runoff. So, the problem with even with the so-called better nuclear reactors that are cleaner is you still have to transport that nuclear core, like the plutonium and everything. You have to bring that, you have to transport it there. So there's things that can happen that you can't control. There can be a car accident, there can be a plane accident if it's on there. That can dump into some river, or wherever or land and contaminate people's water. So it's just really stupid. There's no point of having that when you have all these other alternatives. And I'm definitely not into the CO2 thing. I've been against. That's been a lie. Every living thing exhales CO2 out. So even trees release it to at night, a little bits of it. So it's fucking psychotic to cut, to go after CO2. But I'm talking about actual, nuclear, real bad like chemicals and real pollution. Like, and radiation is one of them. You do not want that. That's really bad for live all life. So for animals and people and their water supplies and everything and the ground and everything. So it's something that should have never, something they never should have been messing around with, and it's a real shame that we have to deal with. So really, so what I'm saying is it's not the solution. Um, the pole shift is not going to solve the problems if we don't, properly, well, it'd be good to hypothetically, it'd be good to get rid of these people first, and then what we would have to do with the new republic is actually send crews in there and shut these things down properly, um, and convert them into the suppressed tech, the clean stuff like cold fusion, hydrogen, magnetic, all this stuff that's been suppressed from Tesla and everything. And then yeah, we'd have to go in and restore them. So if there was a pole shift, we don't have to worry about a nuclear meltdowns all over the planet. Then we could. Then it probably would be a good reset. Not good for innocent people getting killed, but that would. Yeah, and then I'd agree with people with clean. But there's also, there's garbage. I mean, all this, all the landfills, all that crap, and so, I mean, yeah, there's going to be the ocean coming in is going to be washing all that out. So, I don't know. I just don't think people really think about this stuff too much. It's not going to be rosy. So it would be better not to wait for these idiots to just let them melt down. And, you know, like I said, hypothetically, if we had a revolution, that would, um, you know, prevent this from happening, shut them down properly and convert them to better alternative sources of power that's clean and it's actually works. It's not like shitty solar panels and batteries and stuff like that. That's designed to fail. So because that's what the Democrats are. They're they try to distract you with technology that doesn't work. So then everybody drops the whole thing. They're like, well, we got to go back to oil and gas. Oil or gas or coal, or whatever that. So, but I would argue with, and even, I mean, even though coal is dirty, well, they have clean scrubbers, and as long as they don't pump it out, it wouldn't be that bad. But I would say I would even bring back the coal plants rather than building more freaking nuclear power plants because at least you don't have nuclear fucking radiation. Coal's a lot easier to handle. So, I mean, that's fucking retarded too. If they even had that argument, you're like, wow, what are you gonna do? Oh yeah, well, put the coal plants back temporarily till you can transition if you want to do that. So yeah, but yeah, so that's one of the main thing I want to tell you guys. Just yeah, just like everything, don't just sit back and think anyone or anything is gonna save you. You gotta you gotta fight. We gotta fight. We can't just sit back and wait for these things to happen. Like I just laid it out, that's not gonna solve our problem. And like I said, we'll probably wish that we weren't. You wish you weren't alive back then. If that happens, it melts down. You're not going to be happy about being alive. So hopefully that could be prevented. So well, but yeah, okay. I'll end of the show here. Go ahead and show you guys how to support me here. Yeah, you just go to kwholin.com. and then you just click books here, and then yeah, I have the unabridged edition paperback and the ebook. Still working on an audiobook. Hopefully, pretty soon that's going to be released. About halfway through it. And the abridged one I have paperback and I believe the ebook too. I don't know if I have that. Yeah, I believe I have the ebook available on that too on Amazon. So, yep. And yeah, and in the future we'll probably have we're gonna try to find good like sponsors that that I take, like organic stuff. I'm never gonna sell, anything bad for people I mean it wasn't like huge thing, but one thing Owen Schroyer he was selling this shitty instant coffee. It wasn't even organic on there, so I would never do that. I wouldn't like be a piece of shit and sell you something gross like that, so I'd sell you healthy stuff. So but but yeah, I'm not in the process of doing that yet. So yeah, but all right guys, well we'll see you next time.